Hi, my name is Ben Winde. I love cars and I love car stories. And today I get to drive one of my favorite cars for the very first time. It's the Land Rover Discovery 4, or the LR4 as it's called. And I have a bit of a history with this car actually because my dad had a previous version, the LR2. And it was an incredible car. I loved driving that. It was a petrol, but then they made some improvements on that. And so a friend of mine recently got one of this particular one, and he allowed me to, have a spin in it. And so I'm going to drive it and share what that is like. So let me start by talking you through what the car looks like. Again, it's a chunky, handsome beast. It commands presence. You can't ignore it. And this one in particular, in some weird shape of gray, looks really good. It looks stately. It looks commanding. The black grille with some slight bits of chrome. The side step, it looks very sturdy. I thought they did a really good job with the boxy shape in terms of how they sort of evolved it. I don't like the one after it. The new one, I think it looks really ugly for me. The way at the back, it looks like it's sitting on one side of its butt. But this one, somehow, they made the window at the back look actually pretty good. So they did a really good job with that. Nice alloy rims. It is sitting on 20-inch tires, which again gives it that big commanding presence. I mean, you will not get ignored with this car. I should tell you a very quick story. When we came to do the filming, we got to, I think, about 3 or 4 different gates. And at no point did anyone ask who I was, what I'd come to do. They simply opened the gate and let us through. If I was in my wheelbarrow in my small Lancer, I would be asked questions. Who am I here to see? Where am I going? What's my name? Where's my ID? But in this, no one asks any questions whatsoever. They just open the gate and let you through. And that's the appeal behind driving cars like this. Look, I prefer small cars. I like light cars. But there's no denying there's something special about sitting in this and being able to drive around like a king, sort of. And so let's go for a drive so I can share what it's like to drive a really good Land Rover Discovery 4. Right, so let me quickly talk you through the interior of the LR4 before we go out for a spin. And it's very interesting. I mean, the layout, again, as opposed to the newer cars that are coming out these days, lots of physical buttons on the steering wheel, right here for your climate control, for your music, your infotainment. Small screen, but this is all you'll ever need, to be honest. One of the things that you notice very quickly is just how well built this thing is. I've always loved the armrests in the Land Rovers. They are really, really good. They make it very easy to drive. Even here on the door, if I need to rest my arm when I'm going out for a cruise, it makes it much, much easier to drive around. I've loved that. The gear selector is a weird round knob. It's something they started doing, I think, about 2012. I remember with the Jag, except when it first came out, and then with this as well. So it's like a round knob that you turn, and it's very easy to use. Lots of light. One of the beautiful things I love about this car is just how much light there is. There are literally 3 different sunroofs that can open up, and so it's very spacious and aerated, and it gives you a lot of room to work with. The most prominent thing about this car, though, has always been how high the sitting position is. It's like you're basically sitting on top of the world. So if someone is driving a Vitz, you're looking at like, you please get out of the way. Let big people pass. And that's one of its most appealing things. And so now let me put it in drive, and then we'll go for a quick spin so I can talk you through my background with the Land Rover. Again, very strong cars. We've always loved them. One of the first things you notice about this car in particular, and my camera ninja here just noticed it, is this car is a 2013 model. It's done 150,000, right? And yet it looks just as good as if it came from the factory maybe yesterday. And so he looked at the order and couldn't believe how much mileage this car has done, because it looks really, really good. Absolutely nothing broken. Everything is working perfectly all right. The AC is air freezing cold. The radio sounds good. Land Rover has always used the Meridian sound system. That sounds incredible. And in this particular version, this is a landmark edition of the Discovery 4, the LRF4 as it's called, and it's a bit of a fancy version of the LRF4. So let me talk you quickly through where this car came from. When the Discovery was launched back in the 90s, it was supposed to be a bit of a luxurious version of the Defender. So the Defender had come out, and for very many years it was an agricultural thing. It was tough, it was hard, it went everywhere you wanted, but it was just difficult to drive. And so they decided to do a Discovery which had the exact same prowess that the Defender had, but only in this case it was a bit more luxurious. And so they did the very first model, and then they did the LR2, which my dad actually had one, and we loved that thing. It was a petrol. Its fuel consumption was so bad. I think you needed like 40k per day just to drive in Kampala back in those days, in the 2010s. So it was very thirsty, the 4-liter engine. But then there was this eventually. So there's the LR3, and then this was the LR4, which comes with a 3-liter diesel. This particular one is the SDV6, which was a bit better than the TDV6. So very good pulling power, very responsive, good torque. Oh, look, there's the very original one. So that's the very, very first disco that they made, the very first generation. Interesting that we should pass it when we're driving around. And then it progressed now to the newer one, which I find extremely ugly, to be honest. And so Land Rover has all these different cars. So they have the smaller one, the Evoque. They now make the Velar. They have the Range Rover Sport. They have the Discovery Sport. And then they had the Discovery, which was sort of somewhere like as if almost Range Rover, but not quite. But pretty much it does what a Range Rover would actually be expected to do. So it's a really, really good car. I like the way it's built. I like the way it's set up. One of the things that you'll be told about Land Rovers is how they can go literally anywhere. So it's 4-wheel drive system. I won't dwell on that too much because we're driving in Kampala, so there's no chance to really experiment with that. But it has all the bells and whistles, hill descent control, low range mode. You can drive in the sand and the bush and mud and God knows snow and wherever. You will never really get to use the capabilities of this car here in Uganda, not that much. My friend who owns this travels quite a bit to the western part of the country, Fort Portal and all of that, so he needed a car that would allow him to be able to go on a regular basis. He's had a Fortuner before, and it was about time to upgrade, and so this was, what he decided to settle for, and I can see why he's made a very good choice. We spoke with him just when he was getting this, and I was a bit skeptical. I'm thinking, I'm told Land Rover has some reliability issues and all of that. But then I did some research, and it turns out actually that with these particular versions, the diesels, especially from this particular year, 2013 to about 2016, when they changed the newer one, these were really good. They don't give you any drama. They don't have any issues. I mean, and the thing pulls. So we're going, oof. Okay. Has a lot of power. I think about 300 and something horsepower in this, but it's not a very light car. But look, it goes. When you ask it to go, it goes. And I mean, compared to the Fortuner, this is definitely a really, really huge upgrade in terms of what you're going to experience, both the creature comforts, but also the driving dynamics, the stability on the road. It's a really, really good car to drive. The one small gripe that I think I have, which is just not a really big deal per se, is that I find that the seats are a little firm, but this is to be expected from this kind of cars because they were meant to be very tough. So, and you will see it in a lot of the German cars actually as well. So the BMW X5, the Mercedes GLE or the ML, I find their seats to be a little firmer than I would like. I mean, they're comfortable and all, but I think that I prefer the much softer fabrics that you would find in the Prado, for example. For me, I like that fabric seat. It usually feels a lot softer. I think the seat in the Subaru Forester, the 2008 to 2012, has the best seats I've ever sat in for me in a car. This model, if you can just pan, yeah, that particular Forester has really, really good, comfortable seats. So if I'm to find any fault for me, it would be that the seats are just a little firmer than I would like. They're not that bad, they're really good. But I'll definitely still think that the seats in the Forester for that particular model, and the 28 to 2012 model, were really, really good seats. I don't know how the Subaru guys did that, but those I really love. But look, again, this car, it's imposing, it's got presence. The border guys just get out of the way. I think they just fear that you're coming at them. If I was in my small Lancer, they would be trying to bulldoze their way in front of me. But in this, even other cars sort of step aside and let you go. I think they are scared of knocking your lights because they know if they do that, you're going to have to pay a lot of money through your nose to get it fixed. Like, look now, I'm just changing lanes and the cars behind will let me go. No one is going to get in the way. So it's a really, really good car. I can see why this has appeal. And I think the most impressive thing about this for me would be the fact that when you consider the mileage that this particular car has done and the condition that it's in, it definitely makes a very good case for a car to buy. This is going to cost you maybe anywhere between, with all taxes paid on the road in Uganda, anywhere between 130 to about 180 million, which is Prado territory for about the same time. So if you're buying a Prado from the same year, 2013 to about 2016, it's most likely going to cost about the same. But in terms of comfort and I guess status, if you're thinking about that sort of thing, and uniqueness, because you won't find that many of these on the road, you won't mistake this for a government car, obviously. They definitely make a very good case for themselves. Well built, it lasts long. I love it.
You see the other Range Rover there?
Yes. Yeah. See, actually, so that's if you look over there, that's sort of the Range Rover. That's the Range Rover Evoque. I would never buy that even if you paid me, because for me it seems a bit too small and too expensive, I think, for what it's supposed to do. I know that it's a lifestyle thing and it will work for some people, but this car, interestingly, will most likely actually cost less than than the Evoque. So I would take this any day. We'll sit 7 people very comfortably. It has a lot of room in the boot, lots of room for luggage. So if you're going to do family trips, you've got a big family, this is going to be the car for you. Again, the competition for this here, like I said, would probably be the Prado, the ML, maybe, though the ML I think is supposed to be a bit more luxurious, but then it has a lot more masanyalas than this, so you're going to be spending a lot more time in the garage if you have a Mercedes than this. The Prado will be a bit more reliable, I guess. I mean, look, this has done 150,000 miles and you cannot tell. This thing will probably be able to go very comfortably for another 10-12 years here in Uganda very easily. So the thing about mileage, and people don't understand this, it's not about how much mileage the car has done. It's about how well it has been maintained and serviced. Because if you maintain a car and service it well, that thing can be able to do easily 500,000-600,000 miles very easily. We've had a Nissan Patrol that did 800,000 kilometers. We had a Prado that did 800,000 kilometers as well. The Discovery that I was talking about that my dad had, the LR2, I think eventually went up to, if I'm not mistaken, it touched 285,000 kilometers before it was sold off. And the guy who sold it off actually too drove it for another 4 years or so before he eventually replaced it with a Prado engine, interestingly. But it's actually still on the road, that car. I remember it's a UAN. So these are really, really good cars. They're solid cars. They make a good case for themselves. Again, you show up anywhere in this, people will pay attention to you. You will be treated like a bit of a boss. When we parked this car earlier on, you can just see when people pass, they give a second look to the car, and that's how you always know that you have arrived, when people turn and look back at your car. So yeah, this is good. Again, going over humps and you don't really feel anything. So for a car that's done, this is now what, 12 years old, right? In the West, this is considered very old. Here, this is still very good. It's all the car that you would ever need. So I'm very happy for my friend. He's going to have some really good experiences and many good years in this. So this is my quick look around the Discovery LR4. Let me just go take it for a spin and enjoy it a bit more before I have to hand it back and go back to my small car. Bye bye. Oh, so one of the really cool things about this car, and again, when you use the old cars, it's very easy to forget, some of the cool things. This car has what's called a start-stop system. So when you stop at the traffic lights like we just did, it cuts off the engine. And so you're thinking, oh, what has happened? What's happened? And then you remember, oh no, it's just a system. So when you start moving again, you take your foot off the brake and put it on the accelerator, then the car starts moving. So that's really cool. Oh, the fuel consumption. Forgot to talk about the fuel consumption. You'll get about, if you're driving carefully, you can get up to about 8. Wait, we actually have a figure here. 14 liters for 100 kilometers, which will be not too far from, there goes the start-stop system again. So you can get up to about 8 kilometers per liter in this, which for a car this big and this powerful is actually not bad. That's what you get in an Ipsum or a Wish, actually. You get about the same, so not too bad. Good camera for reversing, sensors and everything. So decent car. I like it. Absolutely works.